Hi, this is Misha, and I thought for the first model review of the new year, 2019, I would do the first Enterprise, or at least concept. This is the so-called ring ship, XCV-330, 330. And this is, of course, the Eagle Moss Special Edition model, which is really the only model mass produced that I'm aware of. I know that there are a couple of limited special things, but this is, generally speaking, not something you see. This was an early Matt Jefferies idea for the Enterprise back in 1963 or early 64, well before the Constitution we know and love was thought up and decided upon. This design didn't pass muster for a few reasons. It said that they were afraid a studio model wouldn't be sturdy enough to withstand being moved around. I also think that it wouldn't look the best on screen. I mean, it's futuristic. It'd probably look good in more of a film like 2001, but in like more action-oriented things like Star Trek as a TV series, I can definitely understand why they didn't go with this design. The two big rings were supposed to be kind of an angular warp drive, with this front being the bridge and other personnel, and then we have a neck here with presumably more in it, and then engineering is tucked behind here in the rings with the single pylon for the nacelles. Then on the back we have what look almost to be like old style rocket motors, but probably we could say that they're early generation impulse. I did a video a while back on the evolution of warp, so check that out. Over here there is what appears to be like a docking port on this side. Maybe. I don't know. This, like I said, was an unused concept. It first appeared in the kind of setup of ships in Star Trek the Motion Picture, 1979. It was in that little display on the rec room. That's really all we heard from it for a long time. Then it appeared in Enterprise. When in Season 2 they were testing NX prototypes to try to break the Warp 2 barrier. It was pictured on the wall of the club that they were all drinking and hanging out at. Very reminiscent of The Right Stuff. I loved that film as a kid. And then it appeared in Star Trek In the Darkness as a model much like this. I mean, high quality, of course, it's on screen. It in Admiral Marcus's office on his desk. It's one of those ships that just pops up now and again. I think people kind of secretly like it. So what do we know about it? Well, really, hard canon, nothing. But it is canon because it's on screen. In universe, it's said that this was developed kind of using Vulcan-style warp engines. Now we know that Cochrane's Phoenix used nacelles, human, but it said that this was Earth trying to use Vulcan technology. I've got my Vulcan ships back there for a different video. You can see, maybe, if I'm pointing it right, that they were using rings for their engines. So it's said that this was a human attempt at using a Vulcan warp engine. We know that this had to have been launched prior to 2140 because it was, like I said, on the wall of the flight club bar hangout that they were in, and I think it was 2142 or 2143. So this was already well known enough to be in a portrait. And since we know the Phoenix was launched in 2063, it would be after that. So we can just kind of roughly say around the year 2100, give or take. It would have been an Earth ship, not a Federation. Still maybe under Starfleet, or it could have been the older Earth space probe. We don't know. It might have been an exploration ship, although some sources claim it was a transport or passenger liner, to get to and from Earth's colonies. We don't know how fast it went, but it could not have been past Warp 2 because of the aforementioned trying to break the barrier, so maybe this was the first Warp 2 ship. It's, said in kind of side canon that the Vulcan-style ring engine was found to be more efficient than human. It'd be faster, more fuel efficient, but it was less maneuverable, possibly more convoluted to manufacture. It just wasn't well suited to human technology and desires and to be used in exploration. So it was, as it's quoted, a technological dead end. Likewise, we don't really know how long this is. I've seen estimates of about 120 to 150 meters. Some say 300, but that seems a bit long. On the other hand, if there was any habitable space, as thin as all this is, it has to be a little bit length. Likewise, it's almost impossible to estimate a crew. But yeah, just one of Earth's experimental ships that apparently just never went much of anywhere. This Eagle Moss model isn't perfect, has some paint errors and inconsistencies, but the fact that it exists is pretty cool. The main body here, including the pylon, is all metal. The rings are the polymer, so it's actually still pretty light, but it has weight to it, and it's big. I mean, the ring is huge. This is a special, and they usually have a full retail price of $45 for specials, although of course you can get them on sale cheaper. This has a regular price of $50, so this is kind of unique even within the specials, and it comes in a huge box. It's just a big ship, even though it's a lot of empty space, a lot of negative space. Cool that they did it, and this is one of the earliest surviving concepts for the USS Enterprise from the early days of Roddenberry and Jefferies. And it's cool that it's been realized in a model form. And it's kind of snuck in to Star Trek. And in a real world production, this is actually what inspired the Vulcan ships from Enterprise. Although, of course, in canon, it's the exact opposite. But it's neat to see something aside from the standard, engines and nacelles of warp. Anyway, I thought this would be a neat one to do for the first of the first year, being the first Enterprise ship. Because there's not really much about it. What we do know is mostly conjecture. Not much has ever really been said. It's kind of fun that way. It does kind of seem like it bridges the gap between modern NASA equipment we know today and the Star Trek universe. It has, like I said, docking ports, and it has kind of the white scheme, and the font and everything is kind of NASA-ish. So yeah, either late 21st century or very early 22nd century. Interstellar, although quite slow warp. Explorer, or passenger or transport craft named Enterprise. We don't even know if it was USS or SS or ESP or Earth cargo ship, so ECS. We don't know what really the name was even. We just know it was an Enterprise and officially part of the lineage according to Will Decker, the slightly less crazy one. Well, I appreciate you tuning in this New Year's. If you haven't, you might check out some of my the videos, and if you have, stay tuned and I'll do my best to get more up as soon as possible. As always, I appreciate you tolerating my camera work, if it can be called that. And if you could, like, share, subscribe, and Happy New Year here. And also go check out our main channel over at Mishaco if you haven't. We have a New Year's video there for you as well. I will see you in 2019.